Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, this is your wake-up call. Let's celebrate. This is a joyous moment and one that should go down in history as a great awakening, a time during which people woke up and realized what is actually better for them. This calls for a grand celebration. So before we go any further, let me say, I am not addressing those of you who are Democrat, and I am certainly not addressing those of you who are Republican. Those parties are the reasons we are in this mess. I am addressing those who chose another party or nothing at all. For so many years, people kept saying, your vote counts. Well, the president that so many voted for in 2016 is telling you that he does not trust over 78 million of you and thinks many of you are not real or even alive. I have already made a video that outlined how dead people or animals receive ballots. Maybe your attention span should be long enough to intake information presented to you in visual formats. Here's the definition of a damn, immature, selfish baby. He wanted the counting in the states he was winning to continue, and the counting in the states he was losing to stop. What did the Trump supporters have to say about it? These are the things that make us all hate each other, attack each other, and blame each other. No, wait. This is what does it. The saddest part about all of this is that the administration continues to lie about everything.
Okay, let's take this methodically, as often works here, Daniel. The president insists that vote watchers and observers were not allowed in the rooms where votes were being counted. What about that?
Brianna, that's simply false. President Trump has previously made this claim specifically about Philadelphia, where his lawyer subsequently went in court and told the judge that it was not true. The lawyer admitted that Trump observers were allowed in. He's also made this accusation about Detroit, where CNN had a reporter, Annie Grayer, watching Republican watchers watch the count. And so this is baseless. Anywhere that Biden observers were allowed, Trump had people as well.
Watchers watching count. Okay, so what about the president's claim that millions of ballots were altered by Democrats for Democrats?
This, again, is just completely made up. We have no evidence that millions of ballots were altered. In fact, we don't have any evidence that any ballot was improperly altered. Now, people might be watching thinking, well, the president must be basing this on something. It must be a stretch. No, this is completely beyond, conjured again out of thin air. And I'll remind you that the president also made a false claim of millions of illegal votes. In the 2016 election, he won. So this is a pattern. Seems every election, Trump is inventing millions of improperly altered votes, millions of illegal votes. It's completely imaginary.
What about the president's claim that votes were cast after the election was over?
That didn't happen, at least on any large scale. A ballot or two might have slipped through the cracks, I can't be sure. But in general, here is what happened. More than 20 states, as usual, accepted ballots that were received after Election Day. Those include military ballots. However, those votes had to be cast, had to be mailed on or before Election Day. So the voting happened by the normal deadline. It's simply that the mail arrived afterward. That's the fact.
Yeah, and those actually had to be counted by law. It would have been illegal to not count them. So we should definitely point that out. These are people exercising their rights. In many cases, they are serving around the country. And then the president has been raging against Dominion voting machines. He and his supporters claiming that these machines deleted votes for Trump or they switched them to Biden. What are the facts on that?
This is just a bonkers conspiracy theory. There is no evidence that there was any issue with Dominion voting systems that resulted in votes being lost. There is certainly no evidence there was any deliberate nefarious behavior by this company, Dominion Voting Systems. The fact is, this is software and hardware that is widely used around the country in red states, blue states, red counties, blue counties. There were a couple of issues in Michigan, but those were caused by human error by people using the software, not the software itself. There was one insignificant issue with the software in Georgia that resulted in a delay in the reporting of the results, but not in the counting itself. And I need to point out the Trump administration's own Department of Homeland Security issued a statement last week in which they said in bold type, there is no evidence that any voting system altered or lost any votes. This is, again, completely, Brianna, imaginary.
The lies have gotten much worse since the election. Let's take Kelly McEnany. Our tax money pays the salary for her position, yet you all encourage her to lie to you every time she is on television.
Kayleigh, how sick of polls are people in New Hampshire right now?
Probably very sick, especially when they see that Donald Trump is number 2 and doesn't deserve to be there.
Okay,
Look,
what do you think of the Trump excitement? What do you chalk that up?
I appreciate his boldness, and I think some of his rhetoric got the base excited, but it is not welcome rhetoric. Look, the GOP doesn't need to be turning away voters and isolating them. We need to be bringing them into the tent. Donald Trump is the last person who's going to do that.
They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
I want to make clear I don't support what Donald Trump said. I think he said something very inartful, very inappropriate. However, he was hitting at a real issue in this country.
Well, let's talk about that then specifically. His stance on immigration, what is it, and is his stance the stance of most Republicans?
I think that the stance of most Republicans is we've got to plug the border, but I think the mainstream Republican does not want to send the illegal immigrant back to Mexico. I think that they're here to stay. That's not the American way. We're not going to ship people across the border. There has to be some path to citizenship. Donald Trump has shown himself to be a showman. I don't think he's a serious candidate.
Kayleigh, this is your guy. He's number 2 in the polls.
Hey, I don't want to claim this guy. Donald Trump, if we're going to be honest, is a progressive. He supports eminent domain. He's supported tax increases before. He's donated $300,000 to Democratic candidates. So the fact that the Republican Party is now having to claim him is both unfortunate and, to me, inauthentic, because this is not a true Republican candidate. And the fact that he's being portrayed as such in media is troublesome and not accurate. They say that he said all Mexican immigrants are criminals and rapists. He didn't say that, by the way. You can go back and look at the statement.
No, he didn't say that.
He said when Mexico sends people, that's different. But people try to paint him as racist, as sexist, but he benefits from that because people are tired of this politically correct culture where you have to say everything perfectly correct or else you're going to offend an entire segment of society.
You should be angry, but because you support the divisive bigotry, it's okay with you. Kayleigh McEnany was already wealthy long before she got into politics. Her family owns McEnany Roofing in Tampa, Florida. She was once enrolled in the University of Miami and eventually attended Harvard Law School. She is very intelligent, so all of this support of the lies and corruption is by choice. We all need to realize that Biden now has a national lead of over 5 million votes. His leads in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan are huge, and he won decisively. There will be a recount in Georgia, and even if Trump wins, he doesn't have enough to change the outcome. What evidence do you have that will eliminate the 5 million plus vote lead? What you all should be focused on is the fact that over 72 million people voted for a person who encourages violence, encourages right-wing domestic terrorism, encourages those who wish to harm people of color, and is the poster child of racism because, as I have said before, the racists believe he is a racist. Simply put, this means that many of the people you talk to daily may have racist tendencies. I am not accusing anyone of being racist, let me be clear. I am merely saying that 72 million people are comfortable with all of the horrible things that he has caused, and they don't care, possibly because it does not impact them as much as it affects minorities. But are Republicans collectively more racist than Democrats and everyone else? Let's find out.
Historically, it was the Democratic Party, the party of KKK. It was the Republican Party, the party of Frederick Douglass, and Frederick Douglass as well as Abraham Lincoln. So somehow, I guess in the 60s, things all reversed.
Numbers don't lie. People do. So it seems many of the people with whom you mingle every day and think are your friends may be comfortable with you being treated like you are beneath them and will vote for their own best interests while not caring about yours. At this point, how can anyone be surprised? As I have said previously, your fake friendships have been exposed by the Lord that you worship. Don't tell me you do not worship him because you treat him as a deity. This is what happens when you allow people to think for you and don't do your research. So back to the voter fraud. All I'm asking for is evidence. These attorneys should lose their licenses and be expelled from the bar if they continue to file frivolous lawsuits in court without evidence. They are wasting the court's time filing lawsuits that they know are false. On top of that, the Trump administration is now scamming their supporters out of money by asking for donations to fight this fraud. If you don't read everything, you will not notice that they tell you that 50% of each contribution goes to paying their election debt. He's also using your donations to fund a new PAC that will provide election funding for Republicans, or whomever he sees fit. This is just hurting my brain. It is such a common sense situation that I think toddlers would understand the differences between lies and truth, or right from wrong.
It's legal for them to count votes in Pennsylvania 2 days after the election on November 3rd?
Yes.
You're wrong. Go. I don't even want to talk to you.
I believe that Donald Trump won the election. I believe that they tried to steal the election.
The ballots that you said you saw are lying around the place or in trash cans or whatever. Where are you hearing that from?
I mean, the videos are going viral everywhere. I've seen them on TikTok. I've seen them on Facebook. I've seen them on Fox News. I've seen them on the local news around my area.
I've seen too much pieces of different evidence so far that shows that at this point I would be okay with a revote.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. When you have video footage of people taking bags of ballots and showing that they are for Donald Trump and lighting them on fire.
I helped write a fact check on CNN on that particular video. The election officials said that video has been going around for a few days. They are printout ballots. They're not real ballots.
So you use the information of the election officials.
Somebody like me comes along, tries to research it, tries to fact check it, and then I fact check it. You'll come back and say, well, the election officials would say that.
But wouldn't they, though? That's the thing, though. Question everything, right?
You are not going to steal this election from us. The video actually showed sample ballots, not real ballots. The video's assertion is false, but even the president's son tweeted it to his millions of followers. Election officials in Virginia, where the sample ballots were from, told CNN they had spent days trying to correct the online misinformation.
When we went to bed on election night, when they told us they stopped counting, we woke up and there was a vertical spike right for Biden, 130,000 votes approximately. That's when I knew there was a problem.
Now, as my buddy Steve Bannon says, if you're going to lie, be believable about it. Because you do not have 138,000 votes come in and 135,000 of them come in for Biden.
This is what I think you guys might have been talking about on election night, Michigan, 138,000. This was from a website called Decision Desk HQ. They came out and they said, we messed up. There was an error in how votes came back and reported, and that's why there was this spike in the map. But, you know, the election officials in Michigan then all confirmed to say, yes, there was this error. They are not real ballots. Those ballots never existed.
President Trump himself even shared a post about the Michigan error. Twitter labeled his post as misinformation.
Are you concerned that just as how people on the left can fall for misinformation, that maybe sometimes you...
Oh, I'm sure, yes. I'm very thorough with the information I look at. I have my opinions, obviously, but I'm not just going to go around retweeting blatantly false information or things that I believe that are just... It's just... I look at things that are suspicious. Many of the false claims alleging voter fraud spread on social media. Facebook and Twitter labeled some as misinformation.
I think that's wrong. I think that's not their place. We're like one big science experiment for social media. If I'm seeking a certain viewpoint and they seem to see that I favor that viewpoint more, that's the viewpoint that they're going to feed me. And then the other side's going to get a different viewpoint.
Does that concern you as a Facebook user?
I mean, it concerns me, yes, because of the fact that unfortunately people fail to think for themselves. They feed into everything that they're seeing without questioning it.
But you know what? Maybe the Republicans are right, and they are all being honest. After all, I'm sure they would not do anything to hurt their credibility.
They have no proof. You've heard them list no proof. Over on state TV, they have a list of potential bad votes. Nothing that comes close to changing the results. And they know it. And we know they know. How? Because they held the exact opposite position when they won an election. CNN's K-File found the ugly truth. Feast on this.
You have people out there calling for recounts that are unsubstantiated based on no evidence. This was a legitimate election, and no one should question the fact that Donald Trump is the president-elect.
It's a fascinating group of these Democrats who can't seem to realize that it is time to move on. It is time to accept the fact that Trump will be the next president of the United States.
Hillary is on her sore loser tour, and now we have her going through recounts. You know what she needs to do? She needs to get over it. She lost. Get out of the way and let Donald Trump be president.
Do you think the Democrats are sore losers? Yeah, I do.
The reality is they're a bunch of spoiled crybabies.
Newsflash for many of the partisan Democrats and those in the mainstream media who continue to try to delegitimize President-elect Trump's massive and historic win last month. The election's over. Hillary Clinton lost. You have to win 270 electoral votes to be elected president, and President-elect Trump actually got 306. This is all really just an effort to try to delegitimize the win.
The left's going to lie. The left's going to besmirch.
They're
going to
going
go crazy.
nuts now.
They can't accept the election results, let alone the fact that he's actually going to solve problems.
They have to decide whether they're going to interfere with him finishing his business, interfere with the peaceful transfer of power to President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Pence, or if they're going to be a bunch of crybabies and sore losers about an election that they can't turn around.
This is America. We live in a democracy. Everybody, when they woke up in the morning, is registered to vote, could go choose. So how about respecting the majority that also live here, and their vote should count?
This is what lies at the heart of our democracy, and they know it. Hillary Clinton, say what you want, she promptly conceded, even though she spanked him in the popular vote. Why? That's what our system demands. Other Democrats swiftly came to terms with Trump's victory. Proof.
We must accept this result and then look to the future. Donald Trump is going to be our president. We owe him an open mind and the chance to lead.
So I have instructed my team to follow the example that President Bush's team set 8 years ago and work as hard as we can to make sure that this is a successful transition for the president-elect.
I want to offer my congratulations to President-elect Donald Trump and wish him well for the American people.
We, of course, were all very disappointed, not more than disappointed, hard to accept the results, but accept we do. The peaceful transfer of power is what America and our democracy is about.
This is not about finding a few ballots or even a few hundred. And that's all recounts generally change. Karl Rove said that too in his op-ed. Wisconsin, Biden's up more than 20,000. Pennsylvania, he's up more than 50,000. In Georgia, he's up more than 14,000. The state announced today it will be holding a full recount. And that should deliver confidence in the outcome. Nobody's saying no recounts where they meet the standard. Nobody's saying don't certify. We're saying don't lie about having proof of some kind of perfidy when it doesn't exist. Because that is enabling a fraud, and you know it. In Nevada, Biden leads now by more than 36,000. In Michigan, Clinton lost to Trump there by under 11,000. She didn't fight it. Trump's suing to stop Michigan from certifying the count. He's down by 146,000. Now, just as gross, you know where Trump didn't want to stop the count? Alaska. Why? CNN just called the race for him today. They've been counting absentee mail-in votes for over a week. Why is that okay? Because he won. Again, this is not about Trump. As I said, he is a revenant at this point. He is a dead man walking because he's not even vital enough to deal with the crisis that is overwhelming this country. He doesn't even talk about the numbers, only himself. That's who he is. It is what it is. And it's ugly, and it's always been. He's always lied when he sees a loss. Proof? Okay. Romney lost to Obama in 2012. Trump, total sham. 2016, primary season, Ted Cruz beats him in the Iowa caucus. What does he say? He didn't win. He stole it. 2016, he loses, right? What does he say? Rigged. Even after he won, he ordered a commission. Why? I only lost the popular vote because 2 million, 4 million, 6 million, because the numbers are all the same to him, right? Just like his net worth. They were all fraudulent. He puts together this commission, headed up by his boy Kobach. You know what they find? Nothing. They had to remove the commission. You know how rare that is? He cried fraud all through the 2018 midterms, claiming people were voting illegally multiple times by changing clothes. Proof? Crickets. And let's not forget one thing. Trump was impeached. And remember why? Shaking down a foreign power to help him fix this election and take down Biden. He is a liar and a cheat, but he always has been. He is not the real problem. He can't do this alone. It's the cronies inside and the craven in Congress. That's why this continues and continues to hamper our fight against COVID. Again, Trump hasn't even told you about the latest numbers, and he is doing nothing. And they are stalling the rightful transfer of power to a group that will do something. And remember, none has provided you any proof to justify this malignant malfeasance. They must all be held to account for what they are enabling right now. Never forget.
Here are examples of what happens to your ability to think for yourselves when you allow liars to tell you what to think. I have told you so many times, you are allowing these people to play you against each other. They are like evil overlords who brainwash less evolved beings and get them to fight each other. Need more proof? Let's take a look at some exit poll results. Even in the exit polls, it seems racist ideology is more common in the Republican Party. This is absolutely hilarious. It can't be this easy to control a country full of intelligent... Oh... It also appears that people chose each party based on their income. Those of us who were wealthy enough to benefit from the Trump tax breaks love what the Republicans are doing with the economy. When you look at the overall racist issues within the two major parties, you see a pattern. The ones who are old enough to have actual memories from the more racist moments in U.S. history simply want it to remain this way. It also shows indirectly that these people taught this racist behavior to their children. Republicans, in general, do not believe the racism that destroys so many families exists. It is the same thing for the coronavirus. Whether the virus is real or not, whether the numbers are correct or not, the Republican Party just does not take it seriously even after they have watched many people die from the virus, including people in their own families. Sadly, it also exposes the fact that Christians in this country supported everything the Trump administration has done to people in large numbers. Even education has an impact on who you will vote for. It appears your level of education correlates to who you will vote for. Many of you pride yourselves on intelligence. For a lot of you, your intelligence is based on a system that withholds the country's true nature and the facts about history. Learn the truth about Black history, learn the truth about how the two major parties switched identities, and know the truth about how your mind became so easy to control. It would help if you opened your eyes so you can see that you are being manipulated against each other under the premise of deception. This has been your wake-up call.